In this video, we're going to take a look at some issues with the trail data in the Colorado Trail Explorer, otherwise known as COTREX. In particular, we're going to take a look at the Cub Lake Trail in Rocky Mountain National Park. So first of all, we're going to talk about this bend in the trail here. I'm going to turn on the data from COTREX. It'll show up in green with a black casing, and you can see that there is a big discrepancy there. And that discrepancy is about 337 feet. I'm displaying the actual COTREX web app or web map right now, just so you can see that this is not a case where the data has been updated but not yet released to the public. So indeed, the web map from COTREX shows the error as well. So how do we know that OpenStreetMap is correct or closer to the likely truth and COTREX is further from the actual truth? Well, I've ran this trail a couple times in the last couple weeks, most recently today. Today's the 13th of October, 2023. And in yellow are my GPS traces here, fairly closely aligned with the OpenStreetMap depiction of the trail. Previously, on the 2nd of October, I had also run this trail, and my GPS trace shows up in kind of a hot pink. And again, fairly closely aligned with the OpenStreetMap depiction and not the depiction in COTREX. I'm going to turn on the Strava heat map here. It shows up in a bluish color. And you can see that all the Strava users over the last year that the heat map covers are traveling along the trail as depicted by OpenStreetMap. And absolutely no one is traveling on this section as depicted by COTREX. Finally, I'm going to turn on the USGS 3D elevation program data, and I'm going to just turn off these GPS traces, and I'm going to go into wireframe mode, and you can see this trail is worn or cut into the ground enough that it actually shows up in this 3D elevation program data, and that indicates that the trail does indeed go along the alignment as depicted by OpenStreetMap and not the alignment depicted by COTREX. Now, the next section of this video, I'm going to show you a video I made today. Well, actually on the trail. What I did was I had a video camera and my phone. I used my phone to do a screen recording of the COTREX app, and I used the other camera to actually record the trail as I walked down it. And this video starts near this area here. So let's take a look at that now. Okay, you can see on the COTREX app that we are more or less on the trail as it depicts it. And you can also see in the other video that we are on what looks like an official trail. But notice on the COTREX app, you're gradually leaving that trail behind, and yet we are still on the trail. So I'm going to speed this up a bit. Now let's take a look at some data from the National Park Service. There in National Park Service brown is the National Park Service data for the Cub Lake Trail. And you can see that it's pretty close to the OpenStreetMap depiction, and not, at least in this case, very close at all with the COTREX depiction. Now, another source of government trail data is the US Geological Survey. So let's turn on some data from them. Okay, you can see that the data from the US Geological Survey, or USGS, matches, for all intents and purposes, exactly with the National Park Service data. The interesting thing is if we select that feature from the USGS, they have some dates in here. And this field source DA_1 says NPS trails 10/2019, in October 2019, in other words. So what this means to me is that the data that the USGS got from the National Park Service, that database had a date of October 2019, which means this data has existed in the National Park Service database since at least October 2019, and perhaps before that. It's interesting to note that the creation date on this data is 2015, September 18th. And since I know firsthand that the Cub Lake Trail has had this configuration since well before that, it makes sense that when the data was created in 2015 that it actually looked like this. So that's many, many, many years out of date, or meaning COTREX is many years out of date, which shows that even if we judge COTREX by their own standard, that is, that they are ingesting official data from land managers, there are still big problems here. I mean, folks, going for years and not picking up these changes from the National Park Service is a big deal.